Hello, everyone. It is time for us to get started with Boundaries 101. I see that I have a few people here. I would love it if you would put your names in the chat box really quickly because I am not otherwise able to see you. And when you do chat, I believe I will also need you to go ahead and put your name in there. So let me know who's watching. That would be great. And we're going to go ahead and get started because we do have so much to cover, and I'm super excited to be with you guys tonight. This is Boundaries 101, 5 steps to setting and maintaining healthy boundaries. And this is a challenge for so many people. And I'm going to do some things and say some things that make it much easier for you today. So that will be awesome. You are in the right place if you're ready to grow spiritually and personally. You're right in the right place if you are action oriented and if you believe that life's all about relationships. So if that sounds like you, this is the talk that you're going to want to be here for. In the next 45 minutes, I'm going to give you the 5 steps to setting healthy boundaries like you really mean it. I'm going to teach you the number one reason poor boundaries ruin relationships, and it's not what you think. The 2 things you have to do to get clear on your boundaries. I'm going to give you the secret sauce for maintaining boundaries in the face of challenge, and I'm going to help you learn how to improve relationships through healthy boundaries. My promise to you is that I'm going to show you the exact steps I've taken in my own life to create lasting, healthy relationships through strong, clear boundaries. And here's the deal. A lot of people think they don't know how to set boundaries, but really, they don't know what their boundaries even are. They don't know how to figure out what their boundaries are. Like they know it after the fact, but they don't know it ahead of time. Really, they know how to set boundaries, but they're so afraid of conflict or disapproval, or they fear abandonment. And those are the fears that get in their way of setting boundaries. Another problem that people have is they set the boundary, but they don't enforce it. So when someone pushes back or they get a little bit of challenge, their boundary just collapses. And another problem people have is they just don't have a good script. They don't have a script that works for them. It doesn't feel right. The ways they know of to set boundaries just don't work for them. And here's another really significant problem. A lot of times people are just in relationship with other people who don't respect boundaries. And so it's not that you don't know how to set them or maintain them. It's that other people in your life might not respect them. They might not honor them. And that's a separate issue. And we're going to talk about that later on. So I'm here to offer you my expertise, and I love being of service to people. If you're willing to post a comment and let me know your name and who you are that is watching, that would be really awesome. I would love for you to pay close attention, take notes, and give this all of your attention right now, because what I'm going to say is going to be super helpful. I'm going to share with you not only things I've learned in my own life, but I'm going to share with you the tips and tricks that I share with my own clients. And those things make a huge difference in my clients' lives. So I'm curious, does any of this sound like you? If this sounds like you, I would love to just have you post your name in the comment. And let me also tell you that if you are tuning in from Facebook, I won't see your name unless you go to StreamYard.com and post that you are going to allow me to see your Facebook. So there's that. Okay. Yeah, not seeing that. So do you spend more? Oh, hey, Patty. Yes. More time taking care of other people than you spend taking care of yourself. Do you get involved with people or jobs or any volunteer situations that seem to suck the life right out of you? Do you feel like you get taken advantage of, or possibly like you get taken advantage of? Sorry about the typo. I had to make fun of myself. Do you think this time it's going to be different if you change this job or you break up with this person or stop hanging out with this friend, you're going to get another friend, it's all going to get better? And do you think at the end of the day, it's just all my fault? This happens to me all the time and it happens so much, it must just be me. If any of that sounds like you are sounding like a lot of the people I work with who struggle with boundaries. Have you ever thought, maybe I'm just codependent? Maybe I just have the wrong friends. Maybe it's my dysfunctional family. I had a terrible childhood. I need therapy. That's really what it is. I need therapy. The truth of the matter is, you've just never been taught. That's it. You've never been taught these 5 steps. Oh, no. Patty, can you hear me? Sally, I don't know how to help you get your sound on. Patty, can you let me know if you hear me? And either there are 8 other people here, 6 or 7 other people. Is anyone else having trouble? You're yes, yes, and yes. I'm going to say, Patty, that might be yes. You're having trouble hearing me. Okay, thank you, Diana. Okay. So the truth is, no one's ever actually shown you these exact steps that I'm going to show you tonight, and it's going to make a huge difference in your life. Once you expertly execute the steps that I'm about to teach you, you're going to know exactly how to find your true boundaries. You're going to tune in first and foremost to that small voice within you, and you're going to speak for it. That way, you're going to empower not only yourself, but everybody you know by setting boundaries beautifully with grace and integrity. And you're going to hold to your boundaries. It's going to be so much easier after tonight. So these are the 5 steps that you really need to know about setting boundaries. And when you get these 5 steps down, you are going to set yourself free and you're going to set everyone else you know free. You're going to be operating from your best possible self, and you're going to empower other people to come from their best possible selves as well. So I want to introduce myself. I'm a dating and relationship coach. I'm an author and speaker, and I'm all about empowerment, freedom, authenticity, and personal growth is a really big one for me. And I love teaching people about how to set boundaries because none of this was how I operated before. I was sort of stereotypically codependent. I had relationships with people who eroded my boundaries, a couple of narcissists in my life, and therapy really didn't help me. I had to go a different route and try some different things. And so I'm going to share with you the things that I have learned that help me set boundaries. And they help other people that I work with as well. So the first thing is to get super clear about who you are and what you're about. And what that means is you know your top 3 priority values, and you know your 3 top goals right now in this chapter of your life. And so basically step 1 happens before you ever have an encounter that requires you to set a boundary. And if you don't have that kind of clarity, you're going to fall for anything. If you don't know what your values are, if you don't know what your mission in life is, what you're about this chapter in your life, every time someone makes a request of you, all those requests are on equal footing. And you might as well take a detour. It doesn't matter because you don't really know where the priorities are. And you can end up really far afield before things feel off. You're like way down the road in the wrong direction. But when you do know who you are, what you're about, when you're clear on your values, when you know what your goals are for this chapter of your life, immediately, you know right away, this request either fits with your values and your goals or it doesn't. You immediately know it. You have enough forward momentum toward your goals and you are living your values so solidly that you are like calm enough, clear enough, confident enough to only honor requests that are right for your path. And the weird thing is, more of the requests that you receive will be aligned with your path already because people will see your motion. They will see that trajectory that you're on and they will know to back away and to not interrupt. Now, if you try to figure all this out completely by yourself, you can, and here are the places you're likely to stumble. It's super hard to find the time to get clear. A lot of times, especially if you have a hard time setting boundary, what gets difficult is that you're too busy responding to everybody else's requests to make time to get clear. And the third thing that happens is negative self-talk. You start to say you're selfish for taking this time to yourself. You start to say that you're being selfish for putting your values and your goals first in your life because you don't have that support that you need to really let you know that your values actually are your life purpose, and the goals that you're working on this chapter in your life are your mission in life. This is your life purpose, and it's so important. That's why you were born. And when you have that support, you get the luxury of time and space to help you work on these things. You get to be a little bit selfish. If you have a great mentor or somebody who can support you, the conversation can be all about you. And your negative self-talk loses its hold on you in large part because your mentor will question your negative self-talk. There'll be space to unpack that. And your mentor's job is all about supporting you and learning to help with your boundaries. So, step 2, slow down. And if you have any questions, please go ahead and put them in there. I can see the chat. It does take me a minute or so before the comments appear, but please feel free to ask if you have any questions on step 1, which is getting super clear on who you are and what you're about, your top values and your top goals. Step 2 is slow down. And I don't know, people will get me off track. It's okay. You can still ask. I can answer at the end. Slow down. When you slow down, the key thing here is you get to respond to requests on your time, not theirs, your time. And this is so important because a lot of people who like to be helpful, like me, and probably like a lot of you, we just rush right into help. We don't pause for a minute to think, is this really fitting in with the rest of my life? It's impossible to shift your approach to boundary setting without this step. If you don't pause for a second and go back to your top values, your top goals, what your priorities are, it's going to be impossible to set boundaries because you aren't going to know what they are in the moment, and you never have to answer anybody immediately. When you slow down, you break that habit of saying yes immediately. You can take time to feel for your boundary. You are going to know in your bones that very few requests are actually a matter of life and death. You don't have to answer this minute. It's okay to take a day. It's okay to take a week. You can think through your response. You can look at all of the ways that saying yes might impact your life, because as someone I love dearly always says, when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. So if you say yes to this other person's request, what are you saying no to? So when you slow down, you can think those things through really carefully. If you don't slow down, you're just going to act out of habit. You can take the time to know what your values and goals are, but you're going to be in this habit of saying yes. You're going to be led by parts rather than self. So those of you who've been following me for a while know that I'm an IFS informed coach, which means that I help people lead from a place of self energy, which is that part of you that is always tuned into like the source energy of the universe, that's calm, clear, compassionate, confident, courageous. And if you don't slow down, you're more likely to have a part take over because you won't notice it. And parts are not self, and that's where a lot of us spend a lot of time. If you don't slow down, you're going to respond to that other person's priorities. When somebody comes up to you with urgency, you're going to, oh no, it's urgent. And you're just going to say that knee-jerk yes, and you're going to regret it later, and you're going to resent them. And that's not going to be so good for relationships. That's one of the reasons that poor boundaries erode relationships, is you say yes to things you wish you didn't say yes to, and then you get angry. When you do slow down, you have time. You can take time. You can say, does this feel right to me? Does this feel on? You can think through that. It's going to affect my life. And you're going to be confident in your decision. You're going to know that this thing that you're taking on is right for you. And the other thing is, when you're confident in your decision, you don't regret or resent the other person. You don't build those resentments because you've already made sure that you are not going to suffer for saying yes. The biggest risk of trying to make all of this change on your own is that you're just going to act out of habit, not choice, and you're not going to learn from mistakes. So if you don't take that moment to slow down, if you don't really find some support for taking that pause, You're just going to say that habitual yes. You're not going to get anything out of mistakes. And I'm going to go on to some other things. So I'm going to just put a pin in. Part of the problem when you slow down, if you don't slow down, is you might say, express your boundaries in a pretty negative way. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. With support, it's easier to slow down. There's a couple of reasons. If you have support, like if you have any kind of support, like even Insight Timer, just a minute to do some mindfulness practice. If you have a supportive mentor who can say, yeah, I support you in taking your time to respond to requests, it's totally logical and reasonable. You will be able to question your hidden assumptions. Your mentor can help you with that. You'll have an opportunity for an after action review. That's what they call it in the military, after regrettable incidents. And when you take a minute to review decisions you've made that you regret, or ways that you've set boundaries, you're like, ooh, that came out a little harsh. Let me think that one through. When you slow down, you can do things differently. You can learn from your mistakes, and you can question all of those beliefs and thoughts that are sort of running your life on autopilot. Step number 3. This is where you empower other people. Stay in your own lane. That's step 3. Stay in your own lane. Allow other people to have the experience they create. I'm going to say this again. This is super important. Allow other people to have the experience they create. It's not your job to make everybody else's life fabulous. When you allow other people to have the experience they create, you are demonstrating to them profound respect for their power to create their own experience. You are empowering them. You're not taking anything away from them by not, yes. Yeah, I'm going to get to that, Patty. That is an excellent question, because people will have some difficulties with you setting boundaries. And we're going to go into some of that. And when we go into the next bit, that's going to make a lot more sense. So I'm going to come back to that. That's an excellent question. So when you allow other people to have the experience they create, you're respecting their ability to create their own experience, and you're respecting your own boundaries, which means your limits as a human being. You have your top 3 values. You have your top 3 goals. There's only so much that you can do with your life. We all have the same limited 24 hours in a day. We all have limited energy. We all have limited resources. And when you recognize that you cannot honor that request without being really overextended, way into their lane. And in a way, like I think about this, like if you're climbing up a ladder and you reach too far over, the whole thing topples over, right? So if you're overextended, things collapse, right? And you don't want to do that. They don't really want you to be harmed to help them. They just don't understand. They're not in your shoes. They're not looking through your eyes. So really, when you let them have the experience they create, and you follow all the steps that I'm giving you right now for setting boundaries, you and they will be mutually empowered to create a beautiful experience, even if you're not able to honor their request. Well, if you get all about trying to change someone else's experience, if you are like, hey, I have to make everybody happy. I don't want them to be mad at me. I don't want them to reject me. I'm afraid it'll end our relationship. I don't want to have a conflict. You're going to way overextend yourself, just like being on that ladder that I was talking about. It's like you're just going to be really off balance. When you tune in with your values, visions, and goals, you're going to be fully aligned with who you are and what you're about, very centered and stable. Just like if you're on a ladder, you want it to be centered and stable. If you don't know your values, if you don't pause to reflect, and if you don't allow them to be unhappy with you, and that's really what I'm saying, allowing people to be unhappy or grumpy about it, especially if you're making a change, Patty, especially if you're making a change, they're not going to like it. And that's okay. You can be okay with that. You can actually say, oh, they're learning to accept no for an answer. And that's okay. I'm learning to say no. I'm learning to give no for an answer. But if you are thinking you're going to set a boundary and make them happy, or your job is to make them happy so you can't say no, you're going to be overextended. You're going to throw yourself way off balance. And even worse, you're engaging in a very mutually disempowering interaction. You're treating them like they are not the creative, resourceful, whole being that they are, you're treating them as if they don't have the power and the capacity to figure out how to get their needs met some other way. You're treating them as if they must have you or they'll fall apart. And that's not the lesson we want to teach people. We want to teach everybody that we come in contact with that they're beautiful, amazing, creative, resourceful, and whole people, and they can totally get their needs met in another way. If you're busy trying to change their experience, you're going to end up like a puppet trying to control the master. You're going to be the one on the strings, jumping and dancing, trying to make whoever is pulling your strings dance for you. And it never, ever works. And here is absolutely the worst piece of this. Manipulators will see you as a lone sheep. If you're trying to do this on your own, if you're the kind of person who tends to really worry like a little excessively about how other people respond to your boundaries, and you don't have support doing all of these steps, manipulators are going to see you as a lone sheep because they can feel that you are filled with self-doubt. They perceive your guilt. They get that you regret saying no to them because they said a few things that made you feel bad. So when you're doing this on your own, it's super challenging because manipulators have your number. Manipulative people are good at that. And some of the things that come to my mind, and this really came to my mind a minute ago about like responding to requests on your time, not theirs. I used to live in the Chicago area, and I can't tell you how many times people would rush up to me in a parking lot and tell me, oh, this terrible thing just happened, and I need $20 to take the bus to go, blah, blah, blah. And they're all in a hurry. And this is why they try to rush you. These manipulative people put that pressure on you. They know what they're doing. They don't rush up to you in the parking lot like that out of innocence. They know they're manipulative. They know that if it looks urgent, you're more likely to respond. If they look sad and you are over invested in making them happy, they can tell, they can feel this. And I don't want you to be in that situation where a manipulative person sees you as a lone sheep. Patty, this happened your entire life with your family. And I'm so sorry to hear that. That happens in a lot of families where boundaries are not acceptable. And I've actually come to learn for myself that if there's an environment where I can't say no and no is not allowed, I just kind of have to stay out of that environment. But when you get the support you need to stand by your side as you say no and as you set boundaries, and you learn to allow other people to have their own experience, let them be unhappy, let them be grumpy, let them stop talking to you for a week or a month or a year. It's okay. People who can't take no for an answer, who can't respect that you're a limited being with limited resources, those people aren't healthy for you. And if they choose to find someone who will do things their way and they can't respect your boundaries, that's a toxic relationship. And it's okay to leave that behind. There's a Harvard study, and I'm going to be talking about it next week in a little bit more detail, that shows that the number one ingredient to having a happy life is having close relationships. And one of the key things you can do is let people exit your life if they are negative and make your life miserable. That is the number one thing you can do. Let go of the negative people. You don't need that in your life. It's just going to bring you down. So step 4, this is really important, Patty, and everybody else out there, especially if you're new to setting boundaries. And a lot of people who set boundaries go into this like fierce stage, and they set boundaries with a big F you, and they're hostile about it and angry, and they go overboard. And a lot of the reasons people do that is they don't know how to do so kindly. And they're really concerned that being kind means they're going to be a pushover. And they think if they go overboard, this person will really listen. Yeah, you did it. You left your hometown 20 years ago. Yeah. And there will be people throughout your life that you'll run into that don't respect boundaries, and you're just going to have to let them roll away as well. And here's this other thing about compassionate boundaries. When you learn to set boundaries compassionately, you deepen the connection between you and another person. And I'm going to show you why and how this is, because it's a beautiful thing. And this is the number one reason that not setting good boundaries makes it impossible to have a good relationship, because I'll show you. It's so exciting. I love this. I get excited about this stuff. So I'm sorry. I'm really passionate. Okay. So if you don't communicate compassionately, you really run a risk of alienating other people in your life. You don't want to do that. You don't want to alienate people. You want to bring them closer to you. You're going to come across, if you're like not compassionate and you're harsh with your boundaries, you're going to come across as defensive, uncaring, hostile, unapproachable. And in fact, when you communicate without compassion, the other person's going to feel disempowered and unsupported. When you alienate them, that's just going to reinforce your belief or that secret fear that you're going to get rejected for setting a boundary. It's going to reinforce your belief that boundaries ruin relationship, because if you set it harshly, you push the other person away. If you set the boundary harshly, you leave your own needs out of the conversation. This is the part that excites me. If you set your boundary without compassion, you don't reveal who you are and where your priorities are and what's important to you. Because you don't do that, you miss the opportunity for intimacy and connection. And anytime there's a conflict or an opportunity for a boundary, it's an opportunity for closeness. As much as it's an opportunity for conflict or fighting, it's an opportunity for connection. You are so welcome, Patty. You are so welcome. I'm glad this is resonating. And the worst part is, when you communicate without compassion, you're most likely out of integrity with your values, because most people don't value being harsh. That causes you to rightfully regret your behavior, because you're like, oh, I don't like the way I handled that. And because you feel guilty about the way you handled the boundary, you move your boundary to make amends for your bad behavior, because, oh, I lost my cool and now I have to make up for it. And you just get resentful. You get resentful of that person because somehow they got you again to do something you didn't want to do. You're going to reinforce that belief that boundaries come at the expense of relationships, and vice versa. That, oh, if I can't set boundaries in relationships, I'll give up relationships. I've realized I need my boundaries, so I'll give up on relationships instead. And that's a sad place. And I, as a dating and relationship coach, I meet a lot of women who have given up on relationships because it's so hard for them to set boundaries. They don't know how to do it. They tend to keep people around who erode their boundaries, and they feel like it's an either or choice. But actually, beautiful relationships and beautiful boundaries go together. Can't have one without the other. When you do communicate with passion, the other person knows exactly what's at stake for you. They know what your limits are. They feel that you're supporting them for their needs being met, and your relationship becomes deeply connected and spaciously free. You can say, oh no, I'm not able to do that because right now I have to go do this other thing, or I'm, feeling sick because of XYZ problem. I'm not able to do that. I wish I could help. I hope you find someone else. I'm really sorry that I can't be of help. And best of all, the very best thing is your integrity with those. You're in your integrity. And integrity, the beautiful thing about the word integrity, and I love this word, is it doesn't just mean that you're truthful. What integrity is, if they talk about the structural integrity of a building, is they mean it has the ability to withstand pressure without falling apart. So when you talk about integrity and being in your integrity, it means you can withstand the pressure that someone else will place on you when they're being manipulative, and you won't fall apart. Because the thing is, your feelings aren't debatable. When you know you're at your limit, when you feel more committed to this other thing than that other thing, nobody can argue your feelings, and you'll be able to stick to your talking points. You can do that really easily. I know where my limits are. I know where my values are. I'm in my integrity. I am aligned, thought, word, and deed. Fully aligned person here. And this is not up for debate. My feelings aren't debatable. My limits aren't really debatable. And here are my talking points. I'm saying no, and this is what I'm saying. Now, you can learn to do all this on your own. You can learn, and I have a book, Nonviolent Communication. I recommend it all the time. It's one of my top 5 recommended books. It's by Marshall Rosenberg. I'm going to put this here if you want this in the comment section. I 100% recommend reading the book. You can learn this on your own. The problem is you'd be reinventing the wheel, and that's the first problem. And even if you get nonviolent communication, even if you get the book, it's really hard to learn. Simple steps, really hard to execute, super easy to fool yourself. And I'm not going to go into details because that nonviolent communication is a whole other thing to learn. And I have studied it for about 20 years. And it's really easy to think you're doing it well when actually you're off base a little bit. And that's why it's super helpful to have a mentor to talk things over with. Nonviolent communication is a great mentor in a book. That wheel has been built for you. The learning how to set boundaries has been built for you in nonviolent communication. The other wonderful thing about working with a mentor, and the thing I've really appreciated in having mentors in, really getting a handle on nonviolent communication, I've had several wonderful mentors that have helped me learn how to do this, is they know how to use the wheel. They are experts at using the wheel, and they can tell you when you're off balance, as my mentors have told me when I've been off balance, like, oh, wait a second, hold on. How about this piece? So when you have a mentor to help you learn the mindful, like the compassionate communication, the nonviolent communication, when you have a mentor to help you with that, they know how to use this extremely well. Despite the fact that it looks simple, it's actually hard, and they can see when you're off balance, and they can gently help you course correct. Key number 5, and you might understand that this is part of what I'm talking about, is you want to invest in a coach, a therapist, a mentor of some kind. You want to, if you're going to do nonviolent communication, for example, invest in a workshop, invest in hiring someone who has mastered that technique. If you need help with all of these things, invest in a coach. They help you get clear about who you are, what you're about. I'm a mindfulness-based life coach. I and other mindfulness-based life coaches can help you learn how to pause and slow down. Almost every coach I know knows how to do a values exploration and knows how to help you set your goals. A great coach is going to support you through this change process because, like Patty said earlier, Stephanie, is it necessary to explain why you're setting a limit or saying no? Yes. If you're going to say no compassionately, it is. Yes, you're going to want to explain a little bit about why the answer is no. Not always, but most of the time. When you make a request of someone else, you always are going to want to explain why you're asking. So when you're asking, is it necessary to explain why you're setting a limit or saying no? The closer that relationship is to you, the more you're going to want to explain. I don't know if this is answering your question, Stephanie. I know you asked it a few minutes ago and I just now saw it. So the dating question, I'm going to pause on that because I'm not sure where the limits are here, but I'm going to hit pause on that. Yeah, thanks, Sally. So a good coach is going to help you through this process because I'm going to tell you the truth. The truth is absolutely nobody on this planet, not a single person, learned how to have healthy boundaries all by themselves. We learn how to have healthy relationships by having relationships. That's how we learn about relationships, period. You need someone in your corner. You need someone with whom, give an example of what, Patty? I'm sorry, the comments don't always come out exactly your time and my time together, but let's do that in a second. You need someone in your corner who's going to help you see what you've been missing. Someone who can ask you to replay a scenario, who can ask you the probing questions that will get you to kind of uncover what's going on inside you. You need someone who can share their own hard-earned experience and who can celebrate your accomplishments every step of the way, even when, and especially when, you're really not skilled at it yet and you're just learning and taking baby steps. And you need someone to be your companion walking beside you on this challenging path because, especially like what Patty's talking about, if you have a family dynamic or a whole system of people in your life that don't respect your boundaries and you want to learn to set boundaries, they're going to make your life hell for a while. And you need somebody who's on your side. So a great coach will support you, your boundaries, your values, your choices. They're going to be on your side. You're going to feel it. You're going to know it. And you'll be able to even set boundaries with your coach. It's going to be awesome. they're going to share their expertise with you. And this is one of the distinctions between coaching and therapy. Therapists share a bit less of their expertise. Coaches teach new skills. And a great coach is going to hold an ICF credential. They're going to be really dedicated to the profession of coaching, and they're going to hold that certification to demonstrate that they're a professional coach. And Patty, I'm still looking for what you're looking for an example of. So if you're willing to put something in the comments about what kind of example you're looking for, that would be really great. If you don't get a mentor, if you don't get a coach, if you don't get a therapist, if you don't find somebody who's excellent at boundaries who can help you, if you don't go to NVC training and you try to do this all by yourself, you might end up doing what other people think is reasonable at your own expense, because that's kind of what we do, right? That's how we didn't learn to set boundaries in the first place, and that's why it's still hard for us. You're going to wait and wait and wait for other people to give you permission to say no to them. You have a greater risk, if you do this alone, of setting boundaries that are harsh, that end relationships. You're going to abandon your own values and priorities in your effort to keep a relationship or to make someone else happy, and you're going to end up compromised and resentful. And because what I do so much of is dating and relationship coaching, I never want people to be in this situation where they're feeling compromised and resentful. And again, everyone learns boundaries from someone else. We all learn from somebody else. There's no way to learn how to have a relationship except having one, period. Oh, exactly. An example of what I said I would say about my boundaries. Okay, I'm going to back up and I'm going to go to that. So for example, my daughter might ask me, oh, hey, can you take my son for the weekend? And I'm not just going to say, no, I can't. You're going to have to find someone else. I would never say it like that. I would say, oh, sweetheart, I'm really sorry. I'm not able to take him this weekend because I have an obligation this day or that day. I'm really sorry. I sure hope you can find someone else to take him. Does that help, Patty? And I'm going to go on in the meantime, because it does take a second or two for the comments to come in, and go on from there. So today I promised I was going to give you my 5 steps for setting healthy boundaries. I told you I was going to explain to you why poor boundaries ruin relationships. And there are a couple of pieces that I haven't laid out as well as I could have. So if you have questions about that, let me know. How to know where your boundaries really are. And so I'm going to go back to why poor boundaries ruin relationships. First, if you don't set the boundary, you end up resentful. Resentment seeps into every bit of your relationship. And I'm going to give you a really good example of this. I love this example. One day when my son was like, I don't know, he would have been 15 at the time. He said, Mom, you're always so happy. You just seem to really love being a mom. You're just so happy to do everything for us. You're not like Dad. Dad's always like putting a guilt trip on us. And he always demands that we do things for him because he did this for us. I'm like, well, what do you mean? And my son said, well, Dad says, I made your lunch for you. It's the least you can do is do blah, blah, blah. I said, yeah, but son, I don't make your lunch for you. And that's exactly why, because you're totally capable of making your own lunch, and I'd resent you if I did it. And then I'd think you owed me something. And that's why I don't make your lunch for you. So poor boundaries. I have a boundary. I didn't want to make his lunch. He can make his own lunch. He can do that. It's a life skill. He needs to learn that. He did his own laundry. These are life skills, and I didn't want to do them. It would cause me to be resentful. I don't allow resentment to creep into relationships, because that is a slow death. That is a slow death of a relationship. If you set them too harshly, that can kill a relationship because you hurt the other person's feelings. And the worst part about it, 100% worst part, and I work with this situation not infrequently. People don't set boundaries in a long-term relationship. They don't say no when they mean no. They don't ask for what they need. They're not clear about who they are and what's important to them. And they end up pulling away from their partner. Their partner feels like they don't even know them. They're a stranger because they aren't revealing what really is true and alive for them and their innermost self. So I promised you I was going to tell you my 5 steps. I promised you I was going to tell you why poor boundaries ruin relationships, and I just did. I told you that I was going to tell you how to know where your boundaries really are. And that has everything to do with knowing your priorities. I promised that I would give you some techniques for maintaining boundaries in the face of challenge. And that looks like really finding the compassionate language, sticking to your integrity, your values, and being aligned in thought, word, and deed. Because when you are in that place of alignment, you can withstand pressure. And I told you how you can create genuine, deep intimacy through healthy boundaries. What you need to do to set healthy boundaries, we're going to just review this. You need to clarify ahead of time who you are and what you're about, because that's how you would clarify your boundaries. You know who you are and what your mission is. Slow down. You can take a minute to think about someone's request to determine whether it aligns with your values, visions, and goals for your life. You have to allow other people to have the experience they create. It's super empowering for yourself and for other people. And for example, I told you just a second ago with my son, I didn't make his lunch when he was in high school. I allowed him to make his own lunch, or he could be hungry. I just let him have the experience he created. And that actually empowered him. And my kids, now that they're all grown and on their own, they all say, Mom, you really helped us learn life skills. We didn't get that from our dad. And that's an awesome thing. That was empowering for them. And so sometimes not being able to meet someone's every request actually empowers them to find another route. The fourth step is to compassionately communicate your boundary. And you can do it with, and if you slow down to get your boundary instead of like rushing to the boundary, it's easier to sort of bring your nervous system down to a much calmer place so that you're not, no, I'm sorry, I just can't, is very different than, no, sweetheart, I'm really sorry, but I can't. And I'm sure you can hear the difference in my voice. Invest in a mentor. If you struggle with boundaries, get help with the boundary thing. It is a lifesaver. I have had so many mentors. I have had therapists. I have had coaches. I have had NVC trainers. I have had teachers. Get someone to help you with this. If you implement these steps, you're going to set boundaries with grace and clarity. You're going to liberate yourself and everyone else, and that freedom is going to feel beautiful for both of you. You're going to experience that closeness and connection that you really do crave inside. You want to be close and connected to people. You don't want to be burdened by them. And when you implement those 5 steps, you will have that closeness and connection. When you say yes to them, you'll do so with joy. When you say no, you'll do so with calm. It will be beautiful. You're going to have more energy for the activities and the people who bring you joy. You're going to have more energy for your life mission and your life purpose. And you're going to experience the fulfillment that comes with living your soul's purpose. You are here to bring your values to the world in the way that only you can. That is your mission in life. Whatever your top values are, your mission in life is to bring them to the world using your strengths with your unique accent. And when you stay within your integrity, when you stay in your lane, you will be living your life purpose. And it's amazing to be in that place. And now you have to choose. You have to choose if you're going to keep doing what you've been doing, muddling around, doing it the best you can on your own, or if you are going to start to think about some help. And let me tell you how I can support you. I am happy to offer you a free breakthrough session. During the session, we learn exactly where you are, where you want to be, and we talk exactly about what is keeping you stuck, what's getting in the way. And if it seems like it's a good fit to both of us, if it seems like I have something to offer that you need and you think so too, and it's a good fit, I might even invite you to become a client. So if you are interested in a free session, I just popped the link into the comments below. I would love to hear from you within the next 24 hours claiming your free session. And I would love to hear from you within the next 24 hours for a couple of reasons. And one of them is I work extremely well with action-oriented people. I'm an actor. I am here for people who are ready to stop making excuses. They're done asking permission to say no. They've had enough of that. They are ready to do some serious growth work. because they know that they are the master of their own destiny. Those are the women that I am looking to work for. This is not for people who want other people in their lives to give them permission to set a boundary. It's not for someone who thinks they're done growing. If you know it all already, it's okay. That's great. But I then probably have nothing to offer or add. And this is certainly not for women who are looking for fads and quick fixes rather than really transforming their lives. Because learning to go from not being able to set boundaries to being able to set boundaries is a huge transformation. And the reason I'm doing this is because I really am passionate about my work. I believe that your life purpose is to live according to your highest values. 100%. I believe that. I believe that your duty to the world is to live within your own integrity, that your integrity is about being aligned with your values, thought, word, and deed. Aw, Patty, that's beautiful. Thank you. I want you to live a life of freedom, empowerment, and joy. I want you to feel fabulous. I want you to have that freedom, and I want you to bless everybody you know with that freedom, empowerment, and joy. And I want you to have the true intimacy that you can really only have when you have healthy boundaries. You just can't get very closely connected to people without healthy boundaries. And if you allow me to support you, I'm going to walk you through the exact process I learned, the exact one I followed to learn how to set boundaries in relationships. You're going to experience massive personal and professional growth as you live within your values. And if anybody has experience working with me in the audience, if you have anything you want to chime in on, please feel free. You are going to achieve immense clarity in just a few short weeks. I have one client, I don't know that if she's here or not. Her name is Cynthia. She told me we did the boundaries work, and she said she used that with her kids, her adult children, over this past Christmas break. She said they had the best holiday season they've ever had. Her kids are in their 20s and early 30s. That's 25 years of Christmases, and this one was their best. So you're going to get that clarity really quickly. You're going to get full support and feedback so that you're not trying to figure it out all by yourself. You're not trying to make the wheel happen on your own. You're not second guessing and doubting yourself. So again, here's your invitation. Book your call. I would love to see you. These are free calls. There's zero obligation at all. If you don't think we're fit, then I just honor that. And I respect your boundaries. Like, that's what I'm here teaching is boundaries, right? So if you're like, yeah, no, I don't think we're fit. Cool. All right. We're not a fit. That's great. And thank you so much, Diana. Oh, thank you so much. That is beautiful. That is beautiful. I love the work I do, and I would love to be here to support you. I have a few minutes left on the clock for questions. I appreciate Diana and Patty, you all sharing with people your experiences with me and the benefits that you have gotten. I love the work I do. It means, like, I say thank you almost at the end of, like, I don't know, 75% of the sessions I have. I thank my clients because I feel like I'm the luckiest person in the world. I love the clients I work with. They get amazing growth towards their goals and a huge transformation. So this is, like, seriously 100% what I live for. I'm kind of hanging on to see if any questions come through because it takes a second or two. And I'm not seeing any. So what I will do at this point is I'm going to go ahead and bring our webinar to a close. I'm going to circle back through and respond to comments and questions later on this video. If you have registered for this, well, everybody here has registered. If you've registered, you're going to get the playback link, so you'll be able to see the playback. It's going to come off of Facebook by tomorrow morning, and the playback link will become completely inactive Saturday evening. So when I send you the playback link, it's going to be for a YouTube video. And that is going to go, that link will not have that video anymore as of Saturday evening. So if you want to watch this again, if you missed the first half, whatever, please just go ahead and watch that in the next couple of days. I'm not seeing any questions. I have loved this. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to share. Learning how to set boundaries was super challenging for me. I really, really, really didn't know how to do it. I certainly didn't know how to do it while maintaining happy, healthy relationships. So and I have this thing where I really like to teach the shit that was really hard for me to learn. And this was hard. So I love teaching other people. If I can save you the drama and stress I've had, it is my pleasure to share that with you. Have a wonderful night, and I will talk with you soon. Bye.